Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me once again here on In His Will, and I have another snippet for you. Um, these snippets, it, the Book of Heaven contains over 10,000 pages of Jesus talking to us through Luisa, and it's so helpful to be able to take some of these concepts and some of these ideas of the divine will in little pieces, because to try to take it all in can be very overwhelming. And this is one of the goals that I certainly have for the channel, is to be able to make this digestible for everyone. And the snippets really do that for us. And so today I'm going to talk about simplicity, being simple, because this idea of being simple and this capacity to be simple is one of the most valuable assets, one of the most valuable results of virtue that we can contain. And so I chose one, and I'm going to, I think, talk about simplicity a little bit for a while. So this may not be the only, this may not be the only snippet that you see on simplicity, but this one is from Volume 7. It's from July the 31st of 1906. So it's relatively early on when Jesus speaks to Luisa about simplicity and being simple. And Luisa begins, of course, she's saying, continuing in my usual state. Blessed Jesus came for a little, and embracing me wholly, he told me, my daughter, simplicity is to virtues as condiment to foods. For a simple soul, there is neither keys nor doors to enter into me, nor are there for me to enter into her, because from all sides she can enter into me and I into her. Even more, to better say it, she finds herself in me without entering, because by her simplicity she comes to resemble me, who am most simple spirit, and only because I am most simple, I'm present everywhere and nothing can escape my hand. A simple soul is like the light of the sun. In spite of any fog or of the fact that its rays pass through whatever rubbish, it remains always light. It gives light to all and it never changes. In the same way, a simple soul, no matter what mortification or displeasure she may receive, does not cease to be light for herself and for those who have mortified her. And if she sees evil things, she does not become stained, but remains always light. Nor does she change, because simplicity is that virtue which most resembles the divine being. Only through this virtue can one participate in the other divine qualities, and only in the soul who is simple are there no impediments or obstacles for divine grace to enter and to operate. In fact, since both one and the other are light, one light easily unites and transforms into the other. But who can say what I comprehended about this simplicity? I feel as though a sea is in my mind, and I am able to manifest but a few drops of this sea, and those disconnected among themselves. Deo gracias. I thought this was a beautiful, beautiful reading. Number one, here at the end, we hear Luisa saying, who can say what I comprehended about this simplicity? I feel as though a sea is in my mind and I'm able to manifest but a few little drops of the sea. She sees this idea of simplicity as a very complex issue, as a big, big, big issue of which she can only digest a few drops. Well, in a way, I completely can understand that feeling, because simplicity in many ways becomes kind of aberrant to our nature in the world that we live in. We are inundated with so much information, so much of the world that our minds are cluttered up with, and our minds are cluttered up with things, situations, calamities, darkness, they all affect us. And so it uh, almost requires us to have a more complicated mind to process it all. But Jesus is very clearly, the divine will is calling us into simplicity. He said, simplicity is to virtues as condiment to foods. For a simple soul, there's neither keys nor doors to enter me. I can enter her on all sides. For the simple soul, I'm always just there. I'm there. And I can come into her at any point in any way and reside in her. For the simple soul, there are no impediments. For the simple soul, there are no locked doors, no marshes to crawl through, no walls to climb, no hindrances. For the simple soul, no matter it says, no matter what mortification or displeasure she may receive, does not cease to be light for herself and for those who've mortified her. For the simple soul, she isn't affected by outside circumstances, by humiliations, by mortifications, by displeasures, by discomforts, by inconveniences, by people's awkwardness and immaturity or inhumanity, by their unkindness or their oafishness. It's the only word I can think of. Some people are just oafs. Some people just don't know how to say things. They don't know how to present things. They just don't know how. It comes out clumsily. It comes out hurtfully, sometimes without even meaning it. But we in our complicated minds, we can start ruminating about this stuff, and it can go round and round and round and round. And we start thinking. Sometimes the worst thing we could do is think. We can think too much. We can think too much. And we complicate things. When we start ruminating, we start thinking, oh my gosh, what calamities start hurling at us in our brains when we start thinking. Well, that's not possible. Well, what did they mean? What did that mean? Why did they do that? Why did this happen? Why are they looking at me like that? What are they saying? What's going on? We start casting ourselves into all kinds of real and imagined situations, and it doesn't matter whether it's real or it's not. We're still gonna go there. It says if she sees evil things, she does not become stained, but remains always light. Nor does she change, because simplicity is that virtue which most resembles the divine being. God is very simple. Many times we complicate God and we make him because he's all powerful. And because he's all powerful, we think he must be very, very complicated. But Jesus is telling us here, the soul that is simple is the most blessed soul, is the most like the divine being. And that's true in many ways. And we'll be talking about that as we talk about this issue of simplicity. Because I believe that simplicity is tied to, obviously, it's tied to nothingness. And it's tied to timelessness. timelessness. We need to begin to understand the importance of time and absence of time. Because one of the things that makes things complicated for us is this issue of time. Yeah, but when? When? When's it going to happen? What's going to happen? When am I going to have the answer? Or when am I going to see the grace? Or when am I going to get the grace? We start questioning God. Lord, I'm still very, very confused about the divine will. When am I going to get it? When am I going to understand? These things are so complicated. They're so complicated. I cannot begin to understand it. And that's one of the struggles that I think all people have, many people have anyway, as they begin in the divine will. Oh my gosh, these writings. Well, these writings are high theology, yes. They're from the mind of God, which is infinite. In our finite minds, we can't consume it all. It has to be shown to us through the Holy Spirit, through the divine will. It has to be shown to us. And it is shown to us in God's time, in God's way, in God's time. And sometimes it can come at you from the weirdest things, the weirdest places. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. Did I get that? You get some kind of understanding that you didn't have before. But it's in God's time, not our time. And the simple soul doesn't complicate things by, what comes at them. Why did that happen? What does that mean? Questioning all the time. So don't question. I think I love these readings on simplicity because it's sort of like go with the flow. It says, only through this virtue could one participate in the other divine qualities, and only in the soul who is simple, there are no impediments or obstacles for divine grace to enter and to operate. The simpler we become, the more divine grace enters us and operates, the more divine grace we get. We're our own worst enemy. We create blockages by complicating things. Read, meditate, pray over what you read. God will reveal what you need to hear, what you need to know, what you need to learn in the time you need to hear it, know it, and learn it. Don't try to force it. Don't try to force things. It only frustrates you, and it only complicates things. Jesus is telling us very plainly, you need to stay simple and depend on me. We cannot be simple and be full of our own will. It isn't possible. Our will is very strong. Our will is very powerful. And because we've lived with it our whole lives, I think sometimes we don't understand how powerful it is. It's only when we can learn and practice surrendering our will, letting God operate through us in His will, not our own will, in His divine will, we can remain simple. This is where the peace comes from. This is where the profound peace comes from. So we're not trying to control anything anymore. We're letting God control it. Now, that doesn't mean we let loose of common sense and try to swim the Mississippi if there's no boat. There's no boat. Probably not God's will for us to get across the Mississippi. If you understand what I'm saying, you can't force things to happen. So please Like this video, share this video. I know that many of you have commented about the snippets, that you really love and enjoy the snippets. So I hope that you will share this and meditate on this reading. Once again, look it up. It's volume 7 from July the 31st of 1906. I would encourage you to pray over this, to meditate on it, and to go into your own soul, your own space, and meditate on simplicity. What does that look like in your life? How can you simplify your thinking in your life? And I think that comes through prayer and meditation and contemplation. So, once more, we have a little snippet that you can maybe digest a little bit easier, just this one little reading. It's one idea of simplicity. And as I said, I'm going to be exploring this more because I'm coming to realize how extremely important this idea of simplicity, of being a very simple soul is. Because if we're not practicing, if we're not seeking to be a simple soul and asking God to remove the obstacles that keep us from being a simple soul, which is our will, this is when we begin to make real progress. This is when we begin to have real understanding of the divine will. This is when we start to get these things brought to mind for us. So until next time, God bless you. Thank you. Please like and subscribe, as I said. And if you're not subscribed, and I would really love to hear your comments and see your comments. I love to read the comments, and I do try to respond to the comments about whatever comes up on the channel, or if you have ideas on something you want to see on the channel. But I'd love to hear what you think about this idea of simplicity and how you combat complications in your life. Or if this is just a whole new, wow, never really thought about that. So, see you next time, and don't forget to stay in His will. Bye-bye.